All right, I'm going to assume we're live. Hi, guys, it's Zubin. It's been 3 months since I've made a video for YouTube that isn't a supporter-only video, and it's been a great 3 months, fam. Actually, it's been crazy. It's like every part of me is dying. Every part of my identity is dying. The guy who does YouTube, the guy who cares about medicine, the guy who cares about the fact that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is running Health and Human Services now, like, I think that guy's, I don't know, that identity is not really feeling real. So I wanted to talk about the whole thing. And all I can do is share my own experience. And for those of you who are on this sort of ride, have been on the kind of awakening, whatever the fudge that is, trying not to curse for the kids, journey, I don't know. This is what I would say where I am right now. Stop watching fucking videos. Okay, I said the F word already. About non-duality. Stop believing there are teachers. Stop believing there's any teacher other than life itself, your own experience, because spirituality, is clear, is the final trap that keeps us completely delusive. That's my 2 cents. I mean, I don't care anymore about videos. I don't care about really much of this at all. I'm kind of ready to get rid of the studio and just stop. But then every now and again, something arises and I'm like, I want to talk. And I have a group of people, the supporters that subscribe to the thing, that are just beautiful humans. And we have Zoom meetings and things like that. And what I realize is so many of us are suffering because we started on this whole thing thinking we could end our own suffering as humans by some series of steps. Like, we can do self-inquiry, we can meditate, we can pray, we can go on a pilgrimage, we can do retreats, we can follow a guru online, and there's many of them. We can read 1,000 books. We can continue to buff ourselves up in a spiritual sense, like work on compassion meditations, work on disidentifying from our thoughts, work on unfettering ourselves from the fetters that they talk about in Buddhism, like all the things. You can become a Buddhist, you can become a mystical Christian, you become a Sufi, part of Sufi Islam. There's so many different paths. Judaism, Christianity, it doesn't matter. In the end, it's all a story. And there was nowhere ever that you could go than exactly where you are. There is no escaping from being human. There's no escaping from this. There's nowhere you can go. And that's the good news. It's really just that simple, you know? We try and try. We keep thinking there's some attainment that will make us better. And spirituality is the final trap in that sense, because it tells you, yeah, the carrot's right here. If you just are a little kinder, if you de-identify from these negative emotions, and it's like, okay, how's that working out for people? Maybe they feel a little better for a while, but they still feel like a person moving through this world of time and space that's going to die, that was born, that can do something about it. So sometimes it says you go through all that, and on the other end, and by the way, it's painful. It's like the real dying process where those identities and stuff fall away is excruciating. It's nothing anyone would want. Take it from me. You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy, and yet as you go through it, you even then know, yeah, this is what needs to happen. The only way out is through. And out means you feel everything, just as it is. So when I say there's nowhere to go, it means that reality is just this, exactly as it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Nowhere to go, nowhere that you've been. It's always and always just this. And even everything I just said is also a story, because I have to use words. And that's why I don't really want to make videos, because you can't say anything about this. And all the people making videos on YouTube are just flapping their fucking mouths, just like I am right now. This is not something that sells clicks or views, but it's the goddamn truth. And if you're out there going, man, I just can't wake up, or all these people seem so attained, and these gurus online seem so, they have the non-dual stare, and they're looking at you saying, this reality consciousness is just an ocean, and you're like a wave in this ocean, and you go back into the ocean, and there's these, it's this spacious awareness, and that's all fucking bullshit. That's all a total story that the mind is telling. It's another identity. It's another self moving through that. Now it's a spiritual self, and the spiritual self is a complete clusterfuck. It's a total asshole because it thinks it's doing the right. It thinks it's getting better. It thinks it's moving through stages. It thinks it's buffing itself up, and it's in for nothing but heartache, and it's going to cause heartache with all the apparent beings around it, because that's just what happens. I mean, just look at any of these spiritual teachers. If you dig into it, it's like they're just as human as everyone else, more unpleasant because they're assholes, because they think they know something that you don't know. They don't think they know it, because one of the experiences that happens on this whole rabbit hole of spirituality are the mystical experiences, the sense of oneness, the sense of I'm everything, the sense of, oh, I'm nothing, the sense, whatever sense, you put sense there, it's an experience. And part of the experience is a felt sense of truth. So you'll hear people say, I just know this to be true. This is undeniable. You can take it on. And I've said these kind of things, partially because I have these mystical experiences, partially because I'm listening to these ass clowns on YouTube saying the same shit. And it's incepting my own beliefs. And now I swap one belief, I'm a material being that's made of flesh and blah, 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 for another belief. I am consciousness, eternal, selfless, all this bullshit. And one of the senses in the mystical experience is veracity, truth. So one of the experiences a human can have, or that can arise, is that this is real, that this is truth. And there's certain medicines that will show you that arising and dissolve it, so you can actually see that it's just another sense. So you can have this profound mystical experience, think it's totally true, and then just become a spiritual ego, thinking that you have had some awakening of some kind that's made you more than human in some way, and that now you can go out and teach people, and maybe some people get helped through some thing that happens there, but ultimately it's a trap. Ultimately, all of that has to be seen through. Ultimately, you have to just laugh and realize it's not like that. It's not like anything. It's not even it. There's nothing happening, and yet it shows up as all this, and everything I just said is bullshit. So what can you do? Like, what is it you can do? Well, this is where I have nothing to say, because I've done all the things. I did the meditation, I did the psychedelics, I did the retreats, I watched all the gurus, I read all the books, I did all those things. And on the other end of it, ultimately it was suffering, it was the dissolution, and I didn't do any of it. It just arises. Life just suddenly is like, yeah, you're not what you thought you were. You'll never be. Actually, all your identities, husband, father, teacher, doctor, it's all a story. And it's a fine story. Nothing wrong with the story, but it's all a story. And what's here right now is not knowable. It's not describable, but it's infinitely free to be exactly what it is, just as it is. That's freedom. People use words like liberation and all that. Those are all just bullshit words. It's just freedom. It's just what it is. It's what it is. And it's freedom for no one, because the person that you think you are is a story. And what actually is it just what it is? You can't say a word about it because it's just what it is. This is just what it is. That's it. You see, this is not compelling as a belief system, because it's not. It's not compelling as a religion, because it doesn't sell converts. It's not compelling as a YouTube video, because people will be like, what the fuck? This is not useful for me. But people who are feeling this, who've been struggling, who are like, why can't I? What's going on? This is not working for me. Or worse, they're following some guru who feels right to them, but also because that same little slider that says this is true is up to 10 because they've had some mystical experience or some experience with them where they believe them fully, which is the most dangerous situation because now you're not free at all. You're stuck in belief. You're stuck in some faith thing that this person knows what they're talking about. And then when they start saying shit like, you have to do these things to get here, which is total horseshit, then you believe them. And then you feel bad when you can't live up to what they're pointing at, which they can't live up to either. And they know it at some deep level. Or even worse, they don't, because that slider's turned up to 10 of truth. No, I'm right. And so listen to how they express, you know? They express in this absolute way, but they'll nuance it a little, you know? It's like, all right, that's enough. And everybody's like that. Every single person who opens their mouth about this shit, including me. So I'd say just stop. If you're where I feel like I have ended up, all you can say is just stop. Just do the next thing. And the next thing may be you sit with a loved one and go through your entire life, and it happens spontaneously with all the emotions and everything that you thought was going on, and it breaks down and all kinds of crazy shit happens and you don't do any of it. It's showing up. Maybe you get a ton of energy in the body that flows through and it shows up as all kinds of stuff. Maybe you see everything as completely empty of any substance or form or reality. And maybe you see through the illusion of time and space. Maybe, and this all just happens. You're not going to make it happen. People say, well, you know, if you put yourself in meditation retreats, you become accident prone for this accident to happen. That is a total story. This stuff is energetic. It seems to just happen. And that means that meditation may just happen. It may just show up, and it's like a correlate. It's like an epiphenomenon of this whole thing that's unwinding. There's some natural energetic attunement that just is. You're not doing it because you don't exist in the way that you think. That's all belief and story. Just like the spirituality is a story. Just like God is a story. You can experience God. You can have mystical experiences that turn your reality scale of experience up to 10, and you believe them to absolutely be true. Psychedelics are very good at this. They'll show you things and you'll be like, that is absolutely the truth. And then a year later, you'll have a total different realization that will feel equally true, and it will be contradicting the first one. It will be, there is no God and it's all empty. And that feels totally true. And then the next year you'll have another, or the next month or the next second, you'll have a different realization that'll feel like, oh, but everything's energy and nothing isn't energy and it's just energy. And that'll feel totally true. So what's true? Abso-fucking-lutely nothing. Nothing the mind can grasp. Nothing. Everything is just exactly what it is before the mind can label it. Even the mind is exactly what it is. Even the label is exactly what it is. You are exactly what this is, and I can't say a word about it. So what happens when things are experienced exactly as they are? That's an interesting question. It's another flapping of gums, but you know, I'll just put it out there. These are funny comments. People talking about Trump. People are talking about, like, yeah, that's fun. That's fun. That's all fun stuff. This is all just what it is. Trump, not Trump, Biden. It's actually really funny. People are like, well, it's not funny what he's doing, or he's not doing, or they were doing, or this person's doing. Ooh, the suffering there. It's delicious, isn't it? Because it's what's happening. How many people are suffering because they watch the news and they believe the stories? Even if that shit was happening to you, like some policy affected you directly, is that suffering in itself, or is it the story you're telling about what's going on? Because what's going on is exactly what this is. There's nowhere else you can go. There's nowhere other than this. So in the end, spirituality, the seeking, the story all collapses into life. This life, exactly as it is. And there's a clear sense occasionally that there's somebody living it, and that's another appearance, that sense of self. And then sometimes that appearance can drop, and then there's a sense that it's all living itself. And that's happening. And then maybe that sense of self comes back. So this whole idea that somehow there's some attainment where there's some permanent dissolution of any arising sense of self forever. Maybe someone's had that. I can't say they haven't. But I'd say, who gives a fuck? You're not going to make that happen. You don't make anything happen. Yeah, so almost everything you say in the spiritual realm is a story. Not almost everything, all of it. Everything I'm telling you is a story, but what else can we do? And I don't even know why I'm telling you this, because it's not going to, it's not designed to change anyone's mind or anything. It's just reflecting on my own experience over the last 3 months, which is not describable. There's a ton of emotion. There's a ton of energy. There's a ton of identity belief that seems to arise, naturally get questioned and dissolve, including the belief that I care what you think about me. That's a good one. That's been a big one for me. This character really cared what people thought. Now, I don't know. Words just come out of my mouth. I mean, I don't even know why I'm making this video. Honestly, you know what? Honestly, the causes and conditions align. My wife's getting a massage across the street. I was here. I got an email from YouTube saying, you haven't made a video in 3 months. You should consider your creator metrics. And I was like, can you hear this? Let me turn it up for you. And then I was like, sure, I'll make a video. Well, just talk about how I don't really want to make videos. Except when I do, like right now. Let's see some comments. We love you, Doc Z, Zachary Hayward. That's my favorite comment. I love you too. That's what's arising. Like, live your human life. I just read an amazing book. It was recommended to me by my friend Gary's wife, called A River Sutra by Gita Mehta. And it's a story about a guy who tries to renounce the world. He's on a spiritual quest. He was a government official in India. He decides he's going to renounce the world and become, a spiritual ascetic. And basically he puts himself in this post on the holiest river in India, the Narmada, and he then encounters a series of people who come through his life that teach him these lessons. And the ultimate lesson is, you cannot renounce the world. You are a human. The world is it. This is it. This is it. As empty of substance, as pure energy, as nothing but the divine. Whatever you want to conceive of it, it's all a conception and a story. It's it. There's nowhere else you go. So all these stories, you see these people online, they're like, yes, I just came back from a retreat where I really worked on the fetter of reactivity, where I just looked at my reactivity and I'm just much less reactive now. And I've said shit like that. And then 5 minutes later, some fucker cuts you off in traffic and you're ready to murder someone. That's called being a fucking human. And it doesn't mean you own it. It doesn't mean there even has to be a sense of you there. It could be, there might not be. It doesn't matter. It's what's happening. It's what's arising. And it is delicious. Even the suffering starts to develop this feeling of, oh, there's nothing else that could have possibly happened. Doesn't mean you like it. In fact, I realized one of my fixations, if there is such a word, was I have this innate trust in the universe to unfold perfectly because there's no other option, right? Guess what? That's a total belief. It's an identity as the one who trusts the universe. It involves several beliefs that there is a universe, that it's unfolding in space and time, and that there's a perfect and a not perfect. And even perfect just means, well, it's just as it is. Well, even that's a story. It's this. There's no going anywhere. There's nowhere to go. There's no attainment. There's nothing. None of it. None of it. None of it. All your sutras, all that, that's all fun. They're great stories. Like that book was a River Sutra, beautiful book but it's a story. In fact, it's a series of stories, overtly. And the whole thing is it's about love in the human dimension, loss, all the human emotion, and how we try to deny it. We try to transcend it. We try to liberate ourselves from it. There's nowhere to go. You do the whole journey only to come back here where you could never have left. And maybe if you're lucky, if the energetics are there, there's not a you there. There's just what's happening. That's nice. Because that energy, that energetic sense of self causes a lot of belief and misunderstanding that seemingly separates us from exactly what's happening, because it puts us and that, but there's just this. But even that, it's like, you can't do that. You can't make that happen. Maybe just the realization of that makes it happen. Who knows? We don't know anything. Let's see. You need to go to Mount Athos and hang out with the monks. It's a beautiful part of Greece. I would go just to hang out in Greece, Cynthia, but I'm not interested in monks, although that would be a fun experience. But nothing they say is true. Nothing anyone says is true. So just be there to hang out with the energetic sense of monks, which would be kind of fun. Ashley says this whole live is just so validating. I don't know. Be careful, because what are we validating too? We don't want to validate another belief. You can validate your lived experience. That's it. And you don't need anything to validate that, right? But I know what you're pointing at. Rosie T, but how do you feel about all of this? That's a great question. So it changes every minute to minute to minute to minute over the last 3 months. Sometimes it's felt like despair. Sometimes it's felt like joy. Sometimes it's felt like neutral equanimity. Sometimes it's felt like irritation. Sometimes it's felt like heart sickness, like longing, loneliness. It's felt like all those things. They're all just what they are. Yeah. I wouldn't have it any other way. I got to be dead serious. No other way would I have it. It's not a good sales pitch, is it? I would not change a thing. Can't anyways, but I wouldn't. It's it. Yeah, Raven Wild says, defining how you feel is just another thought stream. Well, anything we talk about is nonsense, because how you feel is exactly what it is. And you can't say, you can say all the words about it, but it doesn't at all. How can it describe? It's a map that describes a territory that's not describable. So we do the best we can because we're humans, and that's fine too. That's also it. That's also this. That's also what's happening. So we can't reject that either, but we can see maybe what it is, that it's more dance. Shakespeare was right. It's the actor strutting on the stage full of sound and fury signifying nothing, the great play. That's what it is, the dance. Sue, I can totally validate your parking. Yeah, so that's kind of how it's been here. And there isn't a desire to make videos about it because they come out like this. Which, like, Ashley's like, it's validating, so that's great. But most of you guys are going to be like, Z, what are you going through? Are you depressed? Like, do you need to be on meds? Because that's what society kind of does when someone's like, yeah, this is cuckoo, right? It's funny. Tom says, our disconnection from nature and others is incomprehensible. Yeah, well, what's incomprehensible is that we think there's nature and others. What even is that? There's just this. What's the distinction between nature, us, this computer monitor, this mouse? Those are all stories. That's all concept, which is another appearance. It's another this. It's fine too. All of science is an appearance that seems to make sense in conceptual realm that we overlay. So I like science. It works. It makes my phone work. The phone is a story. Work is a story. Maya is a story. That's fine. I'm going to live my life. But I'm not going to take any of it seriously. So when people are like, aren't you so upset about this political thing or that thing or this healthcare thing? It's like, yeah, upsetness can arise. And it's seen for what it is. It's like another thing. I wouldn't even call it upset. I'd just be like, there's that. And maybe my mouth goes, yeah, RFK Jr. is an anti-vax piece of shit. And he's already fucking with the vaccines like we knew he would. I'm not anti-vaccine. I want good vaccines. So my mouth says those things. My heart couldn't give two shits about it. Because I know it's all just, it's this. And I can't do anything. Nothing I do is going to change. My friend Marty McCary is going to be FDA commissioner. That's kind of awesome. Also, even that, I don't care. It's like, okay, that's happening. I love Marty. I think he's going to do a great job. Doesn't matter. It's all kind of the play. It's all kind of dance. Yeah, and I see some of the comments, people are describing different things, and it's all wonderful. It's all great. We can come up with structures and maps and stories, and that's what we do as humans. None of it's real. None of it can be. Nothing you say can. This is a total and complete unknown, unknowable, and yet exactly and fully and unapologetically what it is, which is nothing but free, to be exactly it. John says, you'll see even a tiny selfing happen. No, dog, stay. I love you, man. Look for where there is no suffering and no end of suffering. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. So that's from the Heart Sutra, right? In Buddhism, there is no suffering. There's no end of suffering. And that's probably a pretty good line. There is no suffering. There is no end of suffering. It's that. The mind cannot hold this, and so it wants to make it one or the other, this or that, or this, or even both. It's not like that. It's not like anything. And everything I just said is wrong because I said it. Oh, let's see. Yeah, Mono says, this reminds me of Jim Carrey's debut back into the media where he's recorded on the red carpet saying, nothing matters, we don't matter. So Jim, I can't say what he was going through. I know he's Eckhart Tolle and all that, and he went through some of this. But sometimes when Jim expresses, it's almost like this is how it feels to me, and I don't know anything about what's in his internal state because everything we say is bullshit. It feels like another story, another belief. We don't matter, nothing matters. Like when I say it, it sounds like I'm believing that. But I'm just saying shit. The truth is, I can right now in this moment cannot find matters, cannot find matters or doesn't matter. I can't find it. I can't find I can't find consciousness. I can't find a sense of I am. So everything they say, oh, the only thing that you can find in your experience is that I am. I can't find that. Can you? Maybe you can. I can't even find I am. Just this. Just this. Indescribable. That. Sue says, are you done going to retreats? Yeah, I think so. I don't know what I would do there except for sit in silence. And sometimes that's attractive. Sometimes the body just wants to go sit in silence. Go sit in silence. If I don't believe a fucking word that the guru's saying or that Q&A is happening, it's like, I don't fucking, what's that? Might as well just watch Severance. That's a fun show. Great show. Just do the next thing. Hi, Jana. Act from the heart, not the mind. You're not acting, so whatever you want to believe, you're acting from the heart, you're acting from the mind, you're acting. It's just this. I don't know what the heart is. I don't know what the mind is. I can't find any of those things right now. I can tell you what I find right now. And these are words, so they're not accurate, but I'll put words on the indescribable. There's colors. There's an energetic sense in my chest and in my fingers. There's an energetic sense where what I'm calling elbows is. And I see something I would call my face on a monitor behind the camera. There are a few very subtle sounds in the room. That's all I can find. Donna says, this sounds like me during anhedonia. So for people who don't know, anhedonia is like you don't find pleasure in anything that you like. So maybe it sounds like that to you because how I'm expressing is just how I'm expressing. But the truth is, like, every bite of my dinner was magical. Every second talking with my wife in the car felt like the entire universe. Right now, I can't even think about what I like to do and don't like to do. It's just this, and it's indescribable. So if that sounds like anhedonia to you or depression, then so be it. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. Alan says, how do you know that you don't know anything? Did your wife tell you? Yeah, pretty much. That's the only way you find out is your spouse tells you, and then you don't believe them. John says separation itself will go as well. I mean, separation is not a thought, by the way. Separation, okay, this is a story. So just let's do story time for a second. Separation, in my experience, is an energetic sense that this and that, subject, object. It's not a thought that I'm here and that's there. I mean, their thoughts may be there that reflect that energetic sense, but it is a root energetic that can relax. So it is possible to not have that arise, and then you can't say a word about it. There's no, that sense isn't there. So you can't imagine what that is like until that sense relaxes. And then people put all kinds of bullshit words on it, like, oh, I'm one with everything, or there's no distinction between me and that, or non-duality, or zero distance, or, you use all the words, but they don't mean anything. It's just exactly what it is. It's another energetic experience minus that energetic experience of self, separation. Pip says, was just listening to Nisargadatta, Indian sage, all stories becoming more and more empty of any solidity at all, like everything is disappearing while it's still here. Exactly. That's the key. Everything has disappeared while it's still here. So it's just as it is without anything you can say about it or pin onto it. It's total unknowability. It's a complete black hole. It's a singularity of thisness, and every word I said is nonsense. Donna says, well, I'm glad you don't have anhedonia. I'm glad too. Anhedonia sucks. Like actual depression. I've had depression years ago in medical school. It sucked. That is real, like just. John says, pushing air through a set of lungs to make noises is art, but if we take it as real, we feel suffering. And the taking it as real is energetic as well. It's not even thought-based. Thought is, again, it's like an epiphenomenon that seems to reflect off this energetic shit. Like the fear of death is energetic. I know this because when I died on a 5-MeO-DMT journey, there was this energetic root that was holding me alive, and then it got destroyed. And the other side of that is it wasn't some blissy paradise of unity with God. It was just this. Like I turned around and was like, oh, there was nothing to seek, nowhere to go. There is no birth and death. There's only this. It's always been this, and there's not an always. You can't say a word about it, but it was obvious. And I was like, hee hee hee. Okay, that's done. Luciano says, when all beliefs are dropped, all is left is the big fundamental mystery. Again, we're using words, so it's not accurate, but that's a nice way to say this, that you can't drop the beliefs. This is where people get really stressed. There's a sense of spiritual perfectionism. If I could just dissolve my beliefs, you can't. You can't do it because there isn't a you anyways. That's another belief, or it's a whole complex of beliefs and energy. So whenever that energetic disruption happens or doesn't happen or appears to happen or whatever we're going to call it with our mouth flapping, what's here is unknowable, and it's known in some way that it's unknowable, and it's actually not known that it's unknowable. It's very hard to talk about. Yeah. So I think my wife's almost done with her massage, so she'll be back in a few minutes, so I'm going to go. Yeah, I don't know if I'll make more videos or not. We'll see. For my supporters, the ones that subscribe for the $5 a month on YouTube, Facebook, locals, yeah, because I love you guys and I just like to hang out with y'all. And I feel like sharing our experiences has been so powerful. It's helped me a lot. It is nice when you're going through something, or apparently something seems to be happening where others are going through it too. And we're social creatures, apparently. So talking to speaking in this way can feel good, and that's what's happening. So I'm down with that. But public videos, I just don't know, because I'm not sure any of this makes sense, even to me. And my mom watches this shit and she goes, "Do you need to be on meds?" She's a psychiatrist. Thanks, you guys. Really a joy. I love you guys. I love you, Michelle. Levy, good to see you. Sue, good to see you. I know your handles and your real names because you're in my supporter group. You have the little badge. Ashley, great to see you. Michael, good to see you. Michael Hood. All right. Until next time, love you guys. And why did I say that? Do I love you guys? That was habit. That was this instrument just doing it. I love you guys. I don't know most of you guys. The ones I know I love. I don't have non-specific love. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Sometimes it just arises, but I don't have it right now. So fuck you guys. I'm out.